direct to you and in your face. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
What about the Van Allen radiation belt, though, with the film? Because I did talk to one of the guys on the RCA cameras, and he said, yeah, there was some film problem, but I guess sometimes the film would be okay, sometimes it wouldn't be, because I guess the belts are different strengths, or...
Well, you're passing through them in pretty much of a hurry. We have a concern about what we call the South Atlantic anomaly, which is where some of the radiation dips down to lower altitudes, around maybe 400 miles above the surface of the Earth. So we don't want to send a spacecraft into that South Atlantic anomaly for long periods of time or many, many, many orbits. But certainly radiation detectors that went through the Van Allen belts, as scientific probes do all the time, that are leaving the Earth and heading for geosynchronous, where we have our communication satellites. Those are above the Van Allen belts. The communication satellites are essentially 3 diameters above the surface of the Earth, and the Moon is 10 times that distance away. The Moon Phobos is about 1 diameter of Mars away from the surface of Mars, and it goes around in 7 hours. So It's very, very much closer.
Well, Buzz Aldrin, the book is Magnificent Desolation. I'm not going to keep you any longer. I really appreciate your time. Maybe I can have you up sometime for a 30-minute interview just about your vision of going to Mars. I know humanity is reaching out to the stars, and I know we have incredible potential thanks to people like you and the courage that you and other astronauts have had. And I really do appreciate the time that you've graciously spent with us. And I hope that before I become an old man, or even sooner, before you leave this planet many years from now, that we get to find out what that monolith or obelisk is on the moon of Mars. So,
okay, let me just say one more thing. We need a serious debate here before we begin to spend large amounts on going to Mars. And I don't think we need to do that for another 10 years. That's why we have a 2-phase program.
Yeah.
But the debate is, do we want to just go there a couple of times and then let the Congress spend the money on earmarks, or do we want to commit to permanence? That's continuous increasing settlements at Mars. That's the choice we need to make. And anything you folks can do to begin to address that subject, is it worth expending the money to send humans and their judgment and their curiosity and their investigation, or do we want to do that with only robots? Because the moon, our moon, is a very hostile place. It's not inviting at all, and the same thing applies there. We can do robots much easier than of course on Mars, and I think better than humans on the moon.
But that's what I was going to say, is it's good to send humans, isn't it? Because it keeps us in the game. If we start getting to where we only have robots, we might turn into, over eons, into creatures that don't even have arms and legs and just sit there as blobs like something out of WALL-E. Have you seen that movie WALL-E, where there are all these blobs that have
but more important than that, other nations will go where we choose not to go.
Yeah, since you brought that up, let me just ask you this final question, and we'll let you go. Again, Buzz Aldrin, second to walk on the moon, a famous astronaut here, one of the most famous, if not the most famous, next to Neil Armstrong. There's been a call for globalism, global government, in saying then man can go to the stars. But this having a big global bureaucracy, I think, would actually stamp out a lot of innovation of the different nation states. What's your view on people that call for a new world order?
Well, they're seeking power where it perhaps is not deserved. Spacefaring nations, those with the capability of sending objects for themselves or for others are spacefaring nations, and they're the ones, and only the ones, that should have a say. Otherwise, it's going to be, I want what some favored other nation has. So we do need international involvement, but we need strong leadership, and I think that's where the United States has the opportunity to be that leader.
But are you overall, then, you don't like the globalism or world government, then?
No. I like spacefaring nations determine what goes up above 100 kilometers and what comes down and what protects the assets there.
Is that a good name for you, a spacefarer, not just an astronaut?
Well, yeah. I mean, below 100 kilometers, you can throw rocks, you can fire mortars, rocket grenades, you can do whatever you want, and we'll deal with those terrestrial problems of human rights, of piracy, of stealing, and all those other things. But let's have a separation for the benefit of what goes on, because things can collide with each other, and eventually irresponsible actions, accidentally or on purpose, can prohibit the use of space by anybody, just because there's too much up there, and it'll run into anything that you want to put up there for useful purposes. It'll knock out your direct TV. It'll knock out your weather.
What do you think of the weaponization of space? I mean, you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't call that weaponization. I call that prudent behavior. If you have assets in space and some rogue nation can threaten you, you should have the ability to defend yourself against those hostile acts.
But the country that gets a dominance in space could then set up an off-world system and really almost split into two species, have the dominant empire that's space-based, and then kind of the suboid minions back on Earth. I guess those are debates we should be having, though.
Well, I think that we all like the pleasures down here, and those are subject to conflict. I think we need to be judicious, and I think you're projecting way far ahead to have a space species only that's in conflict with a terrestrial species only.
No, I know, but you know, a couple of 100 years is the blink of an eye, and the way technology is advancing and developing. I just read some of the white papers put out by governments about what they believe is going to happen, even here on the Earth with genetic engineering and the rest of it. Again, Buzz Aldrin, we've been so honored to have all this time with you. Feel free if you've got anything else you'd like to add, or if you need to go, we'll say a farewell, bon voyage to you.
I got to go. When you got to go, you got to go.
Buzz Aldrin, you're a really nice fella and have a lot of courage, and we really appreciate you coming on with us.
All righty. Thank you.
Take care. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Buzz Aldrin, 45-minute interview. And I skipped a break. I do that more and more. I had Alan Keyes on. All this is happening. So we have a fourth hour, though, for the advertisers. And I said I was going to get into all this other crazy stuff.